So from 2005 to 2006, I had the good fortune of being a student at the University for Peace in Costa Rica. And that's where I first learned about the Earth Charter. I was studying environmental security and governance, and so it was only natural that I met Miriam, the director, and her whole team at that time. I remember her coming to the final presentations. She came to that, and I followed her back to her office because I'd heard that there was a youth coordinator position open. So I began a conversation that led me to becoming a youth coordinator at Earth Charter. I inherited a youth network from Michael Slaby. He had brought together 50 or 60 young people from around the world. There were several youth groups in different countries around the world, and they were using the Earth Charter to ensure that their projects were holistic and took an approach that really honored all the different pillars in the Earth Charter. I took the approach of wanting to empower, engage, and also expand the youth network. Those were the three sort of broad focal areas. Empowerment happened through capacity building and reaching out. One example being online learning that we used at that time. This was 2006 to 2009. We developed an online course called E-Glo. This was the Global Learning Opportunity. And it linked young people around the world who were leading sustainability projects. It infused those projects with the Earth Charter, and it provided them a platform to share and learn from one another. And not only that, but to then tell their stories so that they could reach a broader audience. That E-Glo was run 3 years in succession and developed a really tight-knit network of graduates. We also continued to build on the youth group idea. We expanded into 70 countries by the time I left. And so these are youth groups in universities, sometimes schools, sometimes in social enterprises that saw the value in looking at their work holistically. So those who had been working exclusively in human rights also considered environmental dimensions of their work. It was quite inspiring to be in touch with these young people around the world. I got to learn a great deal about the work that they were doing, the countries, the cultures that they were working in, and the way in which, the diverse ways in which the Earth Charter was manifest in those places. And then we also looked at global governance. I didn't want to be a youth coordinator all on my own, so I thought, okay, I'll assemble a youth leadership team. And we had really involved sort of process of campaigning around the world where young people said, I'd like to be on that team. We had a young man and a young woman from 6 different regions around the world. They all campaigned. They said what we should do strategically. They had ideas. They had experiences they were bringing. And a dozen of us then went to India, to the Center for Environment Education. Part of what that group did was to focus on global governance questions. And so what messages can young people bring into global forums around the world? These are forums like the Commission on Sustainable Development, the UN that meets every year, or the Commission on Biodiversity, or IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature. So these young people brought a message around the Earth Charter, around an ethical foundation for approaching sustainability in a holistic way at multiple levels, at personal level all the way to a systems level. They brought messages around youth engagement, but also importantly, intergenerational partnership. In all our work with young people, we did not want to isolate ourselves somehow, but rather build capacity in such a way that we could contribute meaningfully to broader dialogues and action. So I had the pleasure of going to IUCN's World Conservation Congress in Barcelona, and we brought also in a really meaningful way this concept of intergenerational partnership for sustainability, we called it IPS, into the IUCN. It was especially well received by the Commission on Education and Communication, and this commission wanted to take up the concept in a more meaningful way. They asked me to be on their steering committee as a youth representative, and I said, no, I won't be a youth representative, I'll be a youth and intergenerational partnership representative. And so what we were able to do, building on the good foundation built during my time with Earth Charter, we were able to extend that to working with IUCN, which 6 different commissions of volunteers as well, young people and experts, seniors alike, working on conservation, biodiversity conservation all around the world. this idea of intergenerational partnership was through the CEC, we could infuse it into other commissions. And the way we did that was to have first youth networks in each commission, and getting youth representatives onto their steering committees as well. And so there again, we were bringing these, that was infused with the Earth Charter throughout, from A to Z, and bringing this voice of we need to engage young people in a special way and integrate them and their ideas and energy and expertise. The Earth Charter continues for me to be a foundation for what sustainability means. What I find inspiring about the Earth Charter first is that it resulted from an inclusive and participatory dialogue process where many, many voices were considered. Like I love the stories around respect and care for the community of life. And so the wording there, my understanding is that there was an Inuit group participating in creating the Earth Charter, and they're not vegetarian. No, I mean the Inuits, they can't grow any crops where they're living. And so you had some groups saying respect and care for the community of life. Well, that means that we have to all be vegetarian. And the Inuits are saying that's completely impossible. It's ludicrous for us to consider that. And this wording of respect and care came out of that discussion, because that can be interpreted in meaningful ways in different contexts. Love is in the Earth Charter, that same one of those first principles. Respect and care for the community of life with understanding, compassion, and love. And I thought, how bold to have an international document that talks about the centrality of love for the work we're doing. We need to bring our analytical minds and our emotive hearts to the work that we do. And the Earth Charter invites us to do that. It calls us to do that. With its final sentence, let ours be a time remembered, for, and it's all about a rousing call to action. And so I've carried that with me. First, the definition of the process of how it came to be, the dialogue that resulted, the centrality of love in the Earth Charter is really key for me. The systems definition, sitting right next to the personal definition. And an individual can take the Earth Charter and feel inspired about how to develop as a human being. And you can also look at whole stakeholder systems and transform those by applying the Earth Charter. So in the work, it complements the work I do now very nicely, like where I get to work on the how. Like if the Earth Charter is an inspiring why, is a vision for what humanity can achieve on planet Earth, then the work I get to do now is very much around how collaboration can happen, not just across generations, but across sectors. We need to get public sector and private sector and communities working even better together for the sustainability vision that's outlined in the Earth Charter. Talking to youth as one group, I think is difficult, and I would caution doing that, actually. And youth in itself is so diverse. You have young people who are poised and ready to contribute and move and go, and you have other young people who need a little further support and further capacity building. So it's a broad message. I'd rather take the intergenerational message and say it will be through working together that we really achieve the outcomes we need. Every generation has something really important to offer. Young people will bring a fresh view and perspective, fresh insights, especially fresh questions to the dialogue. They'll bring energy to the collaboration, enthusiasm is there, but we need to also respect the expertise that they bring alongside the expertise of other generations.